everyone, so today we're going to talk about order of operations and substitution. So you can see on the learning goal that by the end of this class you're going to demonstrate how to substitute in a value and use order of operations to evaluate your expression. Okay, so we're going to start talking about order of operations. So remember your order of operations, you want to think of the acronym BEDMAS. Okay. That's going to help remind you what to use first. So remember, you want to simplify all of your expressions inside grouping symbols like brackets. So that would be your B. Okay. Then you want to find the value of all of your powers. So that's like your E for exponents. Then multiply, divide in the order that they occur from left to right. So that's your D and your M. And then lastly, you're going to add and subtract in order from left to right. That would be your A and your S. Okay, so we're going to try some of these questions here. I don't have a ton of room to write, so I'm going to do my best. So when you do this, you want to try and make sure that you're following your order of operations. So for question A, I'm going to try and do this up here. So we want to do these brackets first. So when you do these, normally you should be writing equal sign underneath your question like that. So you want to always write from top to bottom. If you aren't using something, just write it in as a placeholder. So we're not going to touch that 18 or the minus sign. We're just going to rewrite it. And then we're going to do what's in the brackets. So we want to do negative 12 minus 3, which gives us negative 15. Okay. And then in our next step, we're going to do this 18 minus negative 15. Remember, yesterday we talked about changing that sign, right? Two negatives make a positive. So we have 18 plus 15, okay? And that's going to give us 33. Okay, and that would be our final answer. Okay. For question B, try and bring it in over here. So again, you want to try and stick to your order of operations. Sometimes you can kind of do two things at once if you can see it's not going to affect the overall outcome of the question. So in this one, really, we want to do our brackets first, but we could also do this negative 9 squared because it's not going to change anything. So you could actually do two things at once. So we could do this negative 9 squared, which is going to give us the negative 81. Remember our rules from yesterday, right? That negative out in front is going to make it always negative. Keep our plus, and then we're going to add inside our brackets. So 7 plus 4 is 11, and that's going to be to the power of 3. So leave that negative 81, and then we want to do 11 to the power of 3. Wouldn't expect you guys to know this one off the top of your head, so we could use our calculators for that one, and we get 1,331. And then we'd want to add these two up, and you're going to get a final answer of 1,250. Okay, so for question C, make it over here. Okay, so you do not want to start with this 20 plus 4. Okay, that will definitely give you the wrong answer. We have to do what's in the brackets first. So we're going to leave this 20 plus 4 out in front. Inside our brackets, we have an exponent as well. So we want to do that first. So 3 squared is 9, and then minus 6. Okay, again, finish off what's in the brackets. So 9 minus 6 is 3. And then we still can't do anything with the 20 because we have this multiplication here. This 4 times 3, we want to do that first. So that's going to give us 12. And then in our last step, we can actually add these together to get 32. Okay, for D, okay, leave the negative 3 and the 2 out in front. Do your brackets first. So we're just going to copy those. In our brackets, we can do this negative 6 divided by 3. That's going to give us negative 2. And then it has this squared here, so make sure you continue writing the squared. So just copy what you had. We have to do this exponent first. So negative 2 squared is going to give us 4. Keep it in brackets. Remember that the brackets mean multiply. So we're going to have to do the multiplying first. So that's going to give us 8. And then negative 3 plus 8 is just 5. And then last couple of questions over here. So try, I could fit it underneath, I guess. So I'll try and write over here. So these ones, we can do a couple of things at a time here just to save us some steps. So we can do this negative 2 to the power 3. That's going to give us negative 8. I could simplify these signs. So minus 16. Or actually, no, I should not do that. I take it back. Don't simplify the signs. Leave them as they are. Keep your plus and your minus 16. Then keep our divided by. We could do this exponent here. So 4 squared is 16 times 5 minus negative 3. Okay, now we have to look through this, right? Because we have no more like brackets where we actually have to do work in them. We just have ones that are separating signs, and those don't count. And we don't have any more exponents. So now we need to look for multiplication and division. So this first one is an addition, so we're just going to leave it alone. Next, we see negative 16 divided by 16. We can do that one. That's going to give us a negative 1. And then we're going to multiply by 5 and subtract negative 3. So again, look for multiplication or division. So that first one's an adding, we leave it, but we can multiply by negative 1 by 5, and that's going to give us a negative 5, and then minus negative 3. So in this last step, we can simplify our signs if we want to, right? Negative 8 minus 5 plus 3. And that's going to give us 13 and negative 10. Okay. That would be the end of that one. So then last one we can do is F over here. So when you get these ones that are fractions, keep them written as a fraction. Don't try to change it. I know fractions might look scary, but I swear they are easy. So we're going to treat the top and the bottom as separate entities. So on the top here, we have this 4 times negative 6. We can go ahead and do that. That's negative 24. And then keep writing in what's left, plus 8 minus negative 2. And then on the bottom, we can treat that as a separate thing altogether. So we can actually just simplify this bottom right away because it's just adding and subtracting. So 15 minus 7 is 8, and 8 plus 2 is 10. Okay, on the top, now we just have adding and subtracting. So if you want, you can simplify your signs. So negative 24 plus 8 plus 2, and it's all over 10. So negative 24 and basically plus 10 would give us negative 14 over 10. And we haven't really talked about it yet, but you should always reduce fractions to lowest terms. So we could actually call this negative 7 over 5 if we were to divide top and bottom by 2. Okay, so those would all be done. The other thing that we were going to talk about today is substituting with integers. So this is when we replace a variable with an actual number. Okay. So in our first example, we want to evaluate when a equals negative 1 and b equals 3. So when you do these, you could actually just replace right into the question. So when we see an a, right, a is always going to be negative 1. So we're just going to write it in as negative 1 plus, and then keep the number that was there. And then for b, I'm just going to do b's in a different color. So for b, we'll do b is 3, so we're going to multiply by 3. Okay. So that's where our substituting comes in. Okay, then we just solve the equation or the question just like we were before. So again, order of operations, so we want to do the multiplying first. So leave that -1, and then we're going to do the 3 times 3, which is 9, -1 plus 9, 8. Okay, over to part 2. Okay, so in this one, right, keep your bracket. B, we said, was going to be 3, so we're going to substitute 3 in for B, and then A is -1. You have to make sure you keep its sign. So in the original question, it had a minus sign here, but we have to keep that sign, and we also keep the -1 sign. And then finish it off with your squared. So inside your brackets comes first, so 3 minus -1 is like saying 3 plus 1, which is 4, and keep your squared, and then 4 squared is just 16. For part 3, we can do A is -1, B is 3, and then we're going to minus, we don't need brackets, then we're just going to minus another 3. Okay, so again, multiplying first, -1 times 3 is -3, subtract 3, and we get -6. And then part 4, so we've got A squared, so -1 squared plus B squared is 3, and just do your exponents, so -1 squared is just 1, and 3 squared is 9, 1 plus 9 is 10. Okay. Same thing goes for example number 3. I'm not going to do different colors this time. So now we have x is 5, y is -2, and z is -1. Okay, so just substitute in like you saw. So x is 5, so we're going to put 5 in for x, minus y, well y is -2. Okay, and just keep copying, right? We've got our bracket, and then 3 minus z is -1, and just, you can add double brackets. Okay, so then do your inside brackets first. Okay, so this 3 minus -1, which is like the same thing as saying 3 plus 1, and that's 4. Okay, 5 minus, and then we do our multiplication next. So -2 times 4 is -8. And then this last step here, 5 minus -8, same thing as saying 5 plus 8. So 5 plus 8 is 13. Okay. Part 2 over here, we're going to do x, which is 5, times y, which is -2, times z, which is -1, minus y squared, -2 squared. Okay, so again, this is one of the ones that we could possibly do like kind of 2 steps at the same time. So we can do all of this multiplication, this 5 times -2 times -1 together. So 5 times -2 is -10, times -1 is just a positive 10, minus, and then we can do this exponent as well. So we can do the -2 squared, which is going to give us 4, and 10 minus 4 is 6. Over here, x is 5, times y is -2, minus, and then x is 5 squared, plus y is -2 squared. Okay. So we can do a couple things at the same time here. We can do this 5 times -2, which is -10. And then we can do our exponents in the brackets here. So 5 squared is 25, and 2 squared is 4. Okay, now we have to leave that -10 alone and do what's in the brackets first. So 25 plus 4 is 29. And then negative 10 minus 29 is negative 39. All right, and last one, we have z is negative 1, minus y is negative 2, and minus x is 5. So negative 1, we could just simplify signs here because it's just all minusing. So we could say negative 1, negative and a negative is a positive, and then minus 5. So negative 1 plus 2 is positive 1. Positive 1 minus 5 is negative 4. And that is it for that lesson.